On February 3rd, the Florida Panthers were playing a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and in this game, the Panthers were playing Mark Pysyk, who we all recognize as a defenseman at forward. Over the past couple of weeks, this is something that the Panthers have been experimenting with because of the emergence of defensemen like Josh Brown and Riley Stillman, and I guess Coach Q thinks that Pysyk is too good to keep out of the lineup. And in that game against the Leafs, Pysyk went on to play about 14.5 minutes and score his first career NHL hat-trick, all of his goals coming at even strength. And then last night, which was February 11th, the Florida Panthers decided to take this experimenting up a notch, as in their game against the New Jersey Devils, they iced a line of defenseman Michael Matheson, centered by Noel Acciari, who by the way has 19 goals on the season, and then their other winger, you guessed it, Mark Pysyk. Overall, just a pretty random and unorthodox fourth line. And for those of you wondering how the line did, well, the Panthers went on to win the game against the Devils with a final score of 5-3, and the line of Matheson, Acciari, and Mark Pysyk combined for 9 points. Each player picked up a goal and 2 assists, and all of their points came at even strength. This line that featured 2 defensemen really brought it to the New Jersey Devils, and sure, it is just against the Devils, it is a super impressive performance, and it is definitely something that I think the Florida Panthers are going to continue to experiment with as the season rolls along. So this really got me thinking about some other times that NHL players had a dramatic position change, and I'm not talking about a winger moving to center or a center moving to the wing, because we see that happen numerous times in a single season. I'm talking about a defenseman becoming a forward or a forward becoming a defenseman. So for today's video, we're going to talk about 5 NHL players who went through a position change. And if you guys do want to see more NHL content like this, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video. We're going to start off the video with the player that has probably been the least impactful out of anyone we're going to talk about, but I still thought he was worth mentioning, and that is Brendan Smith, who currently plays for the New York Rangers. Before being drafted to the NHL, Brendan Smith played his junior hockey as a defenseman for the St. Michael's Buzzers of the Ontario Junior A Hockey League. And during the 2006-07 season with the St. Michael's Buzzers, which was Brendan Smith's draft eligible year to the NHL, he would finish the season with 12 goals and 24 assists for 36 points in 39 games, and was the highest scoring defenseman on the team. And obviously the Detroit Red Wings scouting staff really liked what they had seen from Brendan Smith and would go on to select him with the 27th overall pick in the 2007 NHL draft, but they knew he wasn't going to come into the NHL right away because Brendan Smith committed to play for the University of Wisconsin in the NCAA after the 2006-07 season with St. Michael's. Brendan Smith was one of 3 first-round picks from the 2007 NHL draft that were committed to play for the University of Wisconsin, along with Kyle Turris, who was selected by the Coyotes, and Ryan McDonough, who was selected by the Canadiens. And both of those guys went on to have some pretty successful NHL careers. Smith would go on to play 3 seasons for the University of Wisconsin before then signing a 3-year entry-level contract with the Red Wings after the 2009-10 season concluded. Smith would then spend the following 2 seasons in the American Hockey League with Detroit's affiliate Grand Rapids Griffins, and he had a couple of pretty solid years with them before then getting his first taste of NHL action at the end of the 2011-12 season, where he played 14 games and put up 7 points. But unfortunately for the Red Wings, Brendan Smith was never really able to live up to the hype and develop into a consistent top 4 defenseman for them. So 33 games into the 2016-17 season, the Red Wings would trade Brendan Smith to the Rangers in exchange for a 2017 third-round pick and a 2018 second-round pick. After the trade, to finish out the 2016-17 season, Brendan Smith had a goal and 3 assists for 4 points in 18 games with the Rangers and had 4 assists in 12 playoff games with the team. Obviously, the Rangers really like what they saw from him because that summer they would sign him to a 4-year, $17.4 million contract extension. Brendan Smith's first full season with the Rangers was a disaster, as he was put on waivers less than 8 months into his 4-year contract. He would then finish out the 2017-18 season in the American Hockey League for the Hartford Wolfpack. And Brendan Smith thought that his time in the NHL could have been over, but he reinvented himself and is now actually a pretty useful bottom 6 forward for the New York Rangers. Yeah, I'm sure the Rangers would probably like it if he were on a little bit of a cheaper deal, but the position he is in right now is a lot better than not being in the NHL at all, and if Brendan Smith hadn't gone through that transition from defenseman to forward, he probably wouldn't even be in the league right now. The next player we're going to talk about is Neal Colville, who is a member of the New York Rangers from the 1935-36 season all the way up until the 1948-49 year. And I do try to keep things relatively recent in my videos because I feel like that is what people are most interested in, but I had to feature him in this video just because I found the reason for his position change so interesting and I thought you guys would want to hear about it. From 1936 1936 to 1942, Neal Colville was one of the better centermen in the NHL for the New York Rangers. He even finished the 1940-41 season 7th in the NHL in scoring with 42 points in 48 games. Unfortunately for the New York Rangers, after the 1941-42 season, they would lose Neal Colville, and the reason they lost him, you may ask, well, that is actually World War II. During the war, he and his brother were stationed in Ottawa and played on the Army's Ottawa Commandos team, and they actually won the Allen Cup in 1942. After the war, they both would return to the New York Rangers, but this time, Neal Colville would play defense, and he actually had a couple of very good seasons on the blue line for the Rangers after returning. Colville would go on to become just the second player at the time in NHL history to be named to the All-Star team both as a forward and as a defenseman. I really just thought this situation was super interesting and super unique, considering that the war really impacted his NHL career and was actually the reason for his position change. Next up, we're gonna talk about Brent Burns, who is honestly probably the most extreme example of this, and I already spoiled him in the thumbnail anyway, but even just reading the title of the video, you guys knew he was gonna be in here. The 2002-03 season was Burns' draft eligible year, and he played in the Ontario Hockey League for the Brampton Battalion as a forward. He put up 40 points in 68 regular season games and was their leading playoff scorer with 11 points in 11 playoff games. Burns would go on to be selected in the first round with the 20th overall pick by the Minnesota Wild in the 2003 NHL draft, which is widely regarded as the greatest NHL draft of all time. Even though the Minnesota Wild drafted Burns as a forward, he was quickly converted to a defenseman by Minnesota Wild head coach at the time, Jacques Lemaire, who's a very defensive-minded coach. Burns definitely had some very good seasons from the blue line over the course of his stint with the Minnesota Wild, but as we all know, his career really didn't take off till after the trade that sent him along with a second-round pick to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for Charlie Coyle, Devin Setoguchi, and a 2011 first-round pick. And Brent Burns didn't blossom into a superstar as soon as he got to San Jose. There definitely was some experimenting there, as San Jose did flirt with the idea of playing him on the wing, but ultimately keeping him on the blue line was the smartest move for his career and for the team. The 2014-15 season was really when Brent Burns broke out into an all-star caliber offensive defenseman. He put up 60 points in 82 games and then followed that up by putting up 75 points in 82 games. And then came the 2016-17 season where Brent Burns scored 29 goals and had a total of 76 points en route to him winning his first Norris Trophy, which is awarded to the league's best defenseman every season. And Brent Burns would only continue to get better with age. I mean, the dude put up 83 points last season as a defenseman, which is pretty remarkable. And sure, he's not having the greatest season this year, but neither is the San Jose Sharks' entire team. If Brent Burns was never converted to a defenseman after coming into the NHL, I'm sure he probably still would have had a pretty decent career as a winger, but seeing how his career has turned out, I'm pretty sure that that position change was the right call. Moving along now to the next player, we have Hockey Hall of Famer Red Kelly. May he rest in peace, and did he ever have a fantastic NHL career. Red Kelly began his NHL career as a defenseman for the Detroit Red Wings in the 1947-48 season. He would play with the Wings all the way up until the 1959-60 season. He had a very successful stint with the Detroit Red Wings, being named a first-team All-Star 6 different times, winning the Lady Byng Trophy 3 different times, and winning the Norris Trophy in 1953-54. And of course, he won the Stanley Cup 4 different times with the Wings throughout the 1950s. And on February 10th of 1960, the Detroit Red Wings would trade Red Kelly to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is when his position change would take place. The Toronto Maple Leafs converted Red Kelly to a centerman, and this would prove to be a fantastic move. His first full season with the team, he put up 20 goals and 70 total points in 64 games. Red Kelly was fantastic for the Leafs over his entire stint with the team, and he played a massive part in the Leafs winning 4 Stanley Cups throughout the 1960s. Red Kelly had a fantastic NHL career both as a defenseman and a centerman. And now finishing out the video with someone who has actually been in the headlines a good amount lately, and that is Dustin Byfuglien, who began his NHL career as a forward with the Chicago Blackhawks. Byfuglien played 3 full seasons with the Hawks from 2007 to 2010, all of which seasons where he put up 15 plus goals and 30 plus points. He actually played a pretty big role in the team's 2010 Stanley Cup win as well, where he had 11 goals and 16 total points in 22 playoff games. Due to salary cap reasons, the Blackhawks would then trade Dustin Byfuglien on June 23rd of 2010 to the Atlanta Thrashers, and the return they got wasn't very great. And upon arriving in Atlanta, this is where Dustin Byfuglien's position change would take place. He would go from playing wing with the Blackhawks to being a defenseman for the Atlanta Thrashers, and he had a fantastic 2010-11 season. season with them. Byfuglien had 20 goals and 33 assists for 53 total points in the lone season he played with the Thrashers before the team then relocated to Winnipeg. Byfuglien would go on to become a 4-time All-Star for the franchise, and basically ever since the trade, he has been a horse on the blue line. And sure, it kind of looks like his time in Winnipeg is over and his future in the NHL is pretty uncertain right now. Even if he never were to play another NHL game, we can definitely still say that he has had a very good NHL career as a defenseman that started out as a winger. So that is going to do it for today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. I put a lot of effort and work into this one. It took a while to make, so if you guys did enjoy, make sure to go down there and smash the like button, and also go down to the comment section below and let me know how you feel about the new thumbnail style. I kind of wanted to change things up, keep things fresh, and keep the channel original, but if you guys don't like it, I will definitely go back to the old style. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to go down there and drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for some more NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.